Hello and welcome to this presentation entitled Running and Modifying Physical Inventory Analyses. In this presentation, I'll be covering three different analyses. We'll take a look at item count by material type, all, item withdrawals, and items added. I'm Connie Brown, and I'll be performing these changes for you. So let's go ahead and have a look. Opening the Design Analytics area and going into the catalog. So to begin, opening the out-of-the-box reports for inventory and taking a look at, in this particular case, the very first entry. So item count by material type, all. Click on the Edit button to open the analysis. And you can see just by looking at our list that we have various material types and item counts that are associated with them. Among the important things to be doing just in looking at one of these out-of-the-box reports is to verify that the information that is displaying, particularly in the item count column, makes sense, that we have numbers that are relevant in a particular situation. Other thing to be taking note of is the material types. And so here, for example, we see electronic resource as a material type. Well, in Alma, since electronic resources are handled quite differently than legacy systems, this electronic resource option or entry here really is not correct, and it's something that we would want to be doing something about. I also see that we have none. So no material type assigned, and 158 items in the count. And then we have an unknown where we have 4,911. So it seems to me that the sort of thing that we would want to do, just looking at this particular result, is to identify, for example, what are all of these items that are either electronic resource, none, or unknown, so that we could go through and actually correct the material types and have them display correctly, because of course it will have an effect on things related to fulfillment activities, borrowing periods, et cetera, et cetera. So let's go ahead and go down that particular path. So in this case, I want to be able to know what are all of the 158 items that have no material type assigned to them. So essentially, what title do they have? Who's the author? What's the MMS ID? So I can go through the process of actually editing them. We also want to add a process type so that we can use that as a means perhaps of filtering out certain types of processes, things that, for example, if something is in an acquisitions process, it's still on order, hasn't yet been received, whatever thing it might be, that we can perhaps take those out of consideration. What we're really looking for is what are the things that are sitting on our shelves that don't have a material type. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and use the Save As function and save this to the institution. And so here we'll say that, in fact, it's now no longer item count by material type at all. It's going to be items with material type equals none with author, title, call number. So we're going to be now get a list of items with material type equals none, including author, title, and call number, filtering by process type. Okay, so we're going to make those modifications. And again, we're going back to the criteria tab so that we can essentially take out some things, add some things. So I'm going to first and foremost take out the item count, because at this point that becomes not as relevant. It's not as necessary for us to be able to work with this area. Now I want to go ahead and add in some bibliographic details. So I want to get MMS ID, I want to get author, title, so we get bibliographic information. I want to get hold of the permanent call number so that I have a sense of, what has been done with this particular item, where would I find it in the library collection, so that we can perhaps make different sorts of adjustments. And we're also going to add in process type, and that we'll get from the physical item details area, and there we have our process type. Okay, and it's been added in twice now, so we'll go ahead and delete that one. So using the practice of make a small number of changes, then view the results, go back and make additional changes, let's go ahead and take a look at the results that we have at this point. So at this stage, of course, we haven't done any filtering by material type, and so that's an important part of this. But we're able to see that we're getting relevant information coming through. So here we have the MMS ID, we have author, title, permanent call number when it's in place, and what process type is available. So there's a little bit more, of course, that we want to do. And so returning to the criteria tab, and in this particular case, I want to filter my material type to be none. And notice the other things in the list as well, is that I'd be able to see what other sorts of entries are available. So I'll click on none, or click on OK in order to get that in place. So we've made another change, and let's take a look at the results once again. Okay, there we go, taking just a moment for it to display. And so now we see that we have only looking at the none, and so this is that 158 items. Again, MMS ID, we've got author title information, permanent call number. In some cases, we have an unknown entry. And here we're seeing then in the process type, the fact that something is in the acquisition process, or in process. So this probably means that physical processing is happening. Then we also have a process type of none, or transit. So we could use this as a way to filter out essentially what sorts of things we want to be seeing. And so if, lots of these things are showing as being in acquisition, here's one that's showing as being on loan to someone. And so if we were to take a look at this Sean O'Casey title in Alma, and let's use the repository search for the title Green Crow. We're able to see in looking at this that, in fact, so we've got multiple copies available, of course. Let's go ahead and take a look at the items. And so, item not in place. Okay, so here we have two of them that are on loan. And let's go ahead and just have a look at the record. It is showing that we have a material type there. All right. Let's take a look at the other one. And it's showing also as us having a material type. So, curious. I'm not sure exactly what that means, just that it's very clearly showing us that we have this particular entry in place. Now, if I wanted to, I would like to, for example, be able to do a copy and paste with that barcode. And so the thing I'll do here, in fact, is export this document to Excel. And open it so that I can go ahead and grab hold of that particular MMS ID. Just want to make sure that I'm actually looking at the correct item. Okay, so let's go ahead and enable the editing. And going back in. Okay, so it looks as if we were in the right place. Just that we've got some items that are in fact incomplete, and so we haven't received them yet. So we need to be figuring out what's going on there. So that brings us to the end of that first example, and let's just go ahead and save this one final time before we return to the catalog. And here, looking in the out-of-the-box reports for the item withdrawals. And so going ahead and clicking on Edit. Now this particular example is a report that's been written for ARL libraries that will show them the sorts of things that they need for reporting purposes when they are members of the ARL libraries. So in this case, of course, we're seeing that we have deleted, they're in the deleted portion of the life cycle. We can see that we have, again, process types that are associated, where the items are in place or not in place. In this case, let's say it's because we want to identify more specifically what these things are, and maybe it truly is just ensuring that we have a double check that we have the correct item in hand, and so that we're able to see what those sorts of things are. And so again, in this case, returning to the Criteria tab and taking a look in this particular case by adding things such as call number, barcode, and title. So we get to decide what order we'll put those in. So let's include title to begin. Okay, so I think we can still keep the number of items. This is not necessarily an important thing to be removed, but it is there as an option. We want to also include the permanent call number, and we want to add in the barcode. Okay, there we are, and getting that information included. Now that we've done this much, and in fact, let's go ahead and save as. Call number, barcode, and title. And clicking OK. Let's take a look at the results. So of course, there's more information now in place. Here again, we have a whole bunch of things where we haven't got any title associated with them. So that would be another step for us to be taking to work on those. But here we're able to see that we have barcodes. We've got, and in various shapes and styles. We're able to see that we have our numbers that are associated with them. And that now we have title information, which of course is really, really useful. So we have a bunch where there is no title showing, and I'm curious as to what happened to the author entry, unless I decided not to include it here. Okay, no author this go around. So back to looking at our results. Other kinds of things that I might choose to do at this stage is to just reorganize everything. And so here I can use the sorting capability that's now built into the layout view. And so I'm just going to say sort all of that. Unknown comes first, and then we get some sort of weird sorts of things that seem to be going on here, is that we're not getting that kind of organization that I would have expected. And yet, you know, it's giving us a lot more information to be able to work with. Another possibility in this particular area where it would be, again, to include other information. Of course, we have our process type there that's showing as being none. If we go on to the next page, we're able to, so there we have things that are in acquisitions, and so that makes some sense. We've got some resource sharing requests and different kinds of things. But it gives us a way to be able to look at the various things that fit into this category, and gives us again an analysis that we can use to verify that things that we are planning to withdraw or have withdrawn are in fact in a good way. So a final save on that particular entry, and let's go ahead then and return to the catalog, this time looking for the items added analysis. Again, this is an analysis that is regularly used by ARL libraries. And so here, you know, being able to see what sorts of additions have been made. Now, by default, this particular analysis is focusing on all time in Alma. So while that might be at this stage only a year or two, we probably do want to do things like apply a date filter. We may want to be including other information as well. So let's return to the criteria tab for our analysis. And from here, I'm going to just go ahead and remove the receiving date filter. And then I want to add the create date from the bibliographic details. In other words, what was the date when the bibliographic record was added to the repository? So seeing modification date. Well, there's creator, and I think that's going to be a useful one. There we go. Create date. Okay, so let's just start with this, and let's say that we want, before we go further, items added since 01 Jan 14. Click on OK. Yes, okay, and that particular error message came up because I neglected to actually say where it is I wanted to save this item. I was trying to save it back to the shared folders when in fact what I wanted was to make sure that I'm saving it to a local folder. So going back in here then, okay. So let's take out a couple of things here, make some changes to how this looks. There we are. For a particular date range in this case. And clicking on OK. So now that we've got that in place, so we've added in our create date. Let's go ahead and also include, while we're here, creator, and run the analysis. So this is showing us then that what we've got going on here. We've got our various libraries. We've got the material type, the exact create date. So here we're able to see things that go back quite a ways, how many got added by whom, and various sorts of things like that. Well, let's do a little bit more organization on this. And here, editing the view to change the layout. And maybe it's because I want to know more about the creator than I do, essentially the various numbers. So notice how that has changed changed things. We're able to see who the various creators of these records are, and then filtering in different ways. And so that giving us another way to be able to look at this kind of thing. Now, our last thing, of course, is to say that we want to be looking at this date information starting from the beginning of the year. And so I want to filter in this case, and I'm going to say is greater than, and here let's go ahead and enter a date. So just beginning to pick that. So January 1, we'll search for that. So we're going to be greater than January 1. And so we'll just essentially say that's exactly what we're looking for there. So if I wanted to include January 1, of course, I would need to be saying from December 31st, 2013 in this case. So there's now my create date is greater than. I click on the results, and that now has filtered for things created since then. Now, other kinds of things that I might want to do here, in fact, going back and sorting the create date in ascending order, because I think that will be useful. And that way we're able to see things in good and proper order there. So here's some things in March by the back office user. Then we have somebody who's using the CKB creator, and they're in April. And so just different sorts of things coming through in the different places. Should it be desirable, I have the opportunity to use this create date area without displaying it. And how I can do that is by editing the view and simply pulling the create date area from the included rows and changing it so that it becomes excluded information. So it's still having an effect on what we're seeing, just that the date information itself is not displaying. And since the title of the analysis actually indicates added since the 1st of January, that may be something that is desirable in such a report. Let's go ahead and save that. And that concludes this particular presentation on modifying analyses of the physical inventory type.